All right, everybody. So, Destiny 2's expansion, The Edge of Fate, has made some major changes to not only the balancing, but the gameplay too. Though you play as normal, Bungie has introduced a Metroidvania style exploration and puzzle experience with the Edge of Fate expansion. You can transform into what is called a MatterSpark, which is a dark matter ball of energy that allows you to travel faster and into areas your normal Guardian form cannot traverse through. However, players may be physically getting ill as there have been widespread complaints of motion sickness from the use of this MatterSpark ability. Luckily,
I
Bungie,
would die.
you would die. You would
I
die for
would
sure.
die.
But good news though, Bungie is already working to resolve this issue. So, real quick, here is a quote specifically from the Destiny 2 team on their Twitter account. So, with this, they do say we will be making changes to MatterSpark soon to reduce motion sickness and visual issues. Until then, players can change specific settings that may help reduce these issues. Please review our guide for more information. So, you can find that on their website. But now I will say the suggested changes aren't really complicated. Bungie recommends players reduce their FPS caps and turn off motion blur when in MatterSpark mode. So, what we
Who
want to
has
know
motion
is
blur on anyway? Sorry, not to cut you off, but who has motion blur on anyway? No,
it doesn't
no,
bother me.
no,
You know,
no.
it depends. Certain games hate motion blur, hate it. Destiny, it's never bothered me, so I've never touched it.
I'm like, that's the first thing I look for. I'm like, off.
Yeah, what we want to know, guys, is what are your thoughts on the new MatterSpark mode featured in Destiny 2, The Edge of Fate? Let us know in the comments. I want to know. Do you guys like it? You vibe with it? You not? Yeah.
I think ever since they've been experimenting more and more with the motion blur stuff, it's like, no, I'm good.
Sure.
Because that really does add to, and this is coming from somebody who suffers from motion sickness in video
Sure.
games. Motion blur is your death. The fact that they want you to cap the frames, technically having the more frames helps you as a visual and everything.
Maybe not
So,
necessarily. It could be with the way everything moves. It may not. It could be that like the higher frames, the higher and quicker everything looks and feels, and maybe like to
Right.
help it maybe feel less like in your face and everything. I think it's when you go into like the more like first person view of the MatterSpark.
Yeah, like first person's gonna get you sick, but also
There's other
if you
first
look at
persons
when
that are
you
more aggressive, in my opinion.
right. But if you look at even third person, because of the camera angles, like you can have like when he okay, so there was that mesh area that he was at that he jumped
Yes.
out of. Like that was fine because it was big enough. And then he goes into a smaller area and then you're not in first person, you're in third person. Like that could really mess with you too. One thing that would be very helpful for Bungie is besides the fact that they're trying to fix this whole thing, if they think about not just frames per second, but like field of view. Field of
Sure.
view is a
Sure.
big area that can help with that kind of stuff. And then, like I said, motion blur is like the other thing. Other aspects to think about is like bloom, taking out bloom because that kind of distorts the image. Any way that you can prevent distortion of an image really helps with somebody who has motion sickness. And then just on top of that, like they do say like if you do suffer from motion sickness, especially with video games, make sure that you have like light around you. So having bright light, because sitting in a cave actually doesn't help you.
But I think the motion
Right.
sickness is truly coming from in certain parts of maps. There are like maybe a lot of movement or your speed is really high, and I think there's more of that blur, more of that motion really being thrown in your face to let people see like you are moving in a small area very quickly. Visually, I think it looks sweet, but I was even thinking, I was like, I'm like, I'm sure someone out there's getting motion sick from this. Just like from knowing you
Right.
and being like more aware of how people can get sick from things like that. So I don't
And
necessarily know
helping.
how they can fix it, only because I don't struggle with this problem. It's one of those situations where it's like
Right.
I don't not that I don't understand it, but I don't know what about it could necessarily trigger it. Therefore, I don't necessarily
Mhm.
know myself how could they take this and change it. But maybe
Right.
it is toning down that warping sensation, or that those visuals of that movement, like playing into that visual side. Maybe they need to tone that down and like kind of, though it looks sick, maybe for the sake of the players who do get sick from it, lower that quality or change that visual to help them be able to enjoy the game without being getting sick, which I'm sure Bungie will do. Like Bungie usually, when it comes to especially things like this, is usually pretty much like, okay, we hear there's a problem, let's take care of this, because they want their game to be playable. Otherwise, they're
Right.
not going to make money and their game's not going to do well. But at the same time, like, they're usually pretty in this regard of the community. If you're getting sick from it, I feel like they're usually pretty good